Something people don't tend to think about is the beautiful face Massey makes. Audio listeners, I'm sorry. But something people don't tend to think about is, what is that difference between a hero and an idol? All this and more on the Self-Evident Podcast. All right, as you know, all things point back to Trump. It's really the Trump test. It's all about Trump.
Yeah, everything is nowadays.
It really
what
is.
He's not doing, what he's doing. Is he doing it right? Is he not doing it right? Is it?
Did he get ice cream from McDonald's?
Yeah, and why?
And why?
Biden went to private shops, not the big corporate ones. It's because he's got his hands in the. Never mind.
And Trump ate 2 scoops. How dare he ask for 2 scoops?
And his Secretary of Health is his health nut, and he's eating ice cream at McDonald's.
Yeah, heaven forbid your Secretary of Health actually cares about health.
And how many Secretary of Health people could do 20 pull-ups?
Right, dude. Have you seen the one from
I don't know how many
the one from UK? She's a portly lady that doesn't look like she's ever seen the inside of a gym, but she's gonna tell you about
how to be healthy. Yeah. Yeah, and it's all because they can just quote experts, which they the advice they don't take, right?
Yeah, unless it's the fat pride positivity movement, which, isn't it funny? Lizzo was one of the biggest proponents of that, and now she's losing a bunch of weight.
Yeah,
she's looking good. Lizzo, I
haven't seen her. You've seen pictures of her, apparently.
You just made me sound like celebrity guy.
He's a crush.
I guess so.
He's like crushing on people.
Lizzo, call me, except don't. I'm married. Why would you do that, Lizzo?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I'm trying to drop weight, but I'm not preaching about health here.
but at least...
But I am working on it.
And you come from a conversation of experience. Typically, these, like, Secretary of Health people are like, well, all the experts say... Did you follow that yourself? Well, not really, you know. And then there's RFK Jr., who's like busting out 20 pull-ups and walking around shirtless and having a push-up competition.
That's crazy. Well, I will say, too, like, there's a lot where these guys will quote, they'll say things like this. Well, studies show that transgenderism is normal. Like, they never tell you what, where, what scientific thing. They just throw these things out there. It's so funny. So the rest of us are like, who?
Who is saying this to me?
What chubby person gave you the authority to say that being overweight is good, right? Like, what trans person said this was actually medically okay?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I will say the life expectancy of these fat positivity movement people is a little bit under the national average.
Here's what's crazy. This isn't even the topic, but it's a great topic.
But it's fun.
It's a great topic because it's primarily one of the reasons I began to change, start thinking about my future. I was thinking about my dad, and like how at 40, I just remember he was a workaholic, and because he needed to be, that's not a cap, actually. That's just how he taught us how to live. It was just work, and sometimes had 2 jobs, one in the morning, one in the evening. Like during the summers, he'd work at a factory called Del Monte, old corn, peas, all that stuff. Del Monte. And then there was another factory in our town, so he'd work a lot. And I realized, like, even in his 40s, he was so physically, like, mentally burnt, but physically he wasn't doing a lot, So, like, how's he doing at 70, right? How's his health? And I was telling my wife this morning, it's like, I want to catch it to where it's like when I'm 70, 75, 80, like, I can actually do things. Because he's worked hard his whole life. He's retired now, and it's like you could see the effect of when he didn't do those things. It's like he's got through, some health issues. Not bad. He's doing really good, and so is mom. But I want to be able to stave off a lot of this and be an RFK. Right. When I'm in my 60s, just ripped. Right. Not ripped, but
Remember what's his name? Jack LaLanne. The guy was like 95 and swimming the Atlantic or whatever. Right. Not that obviously that's what you have to shoot for, but a lifestyle of health pays off dividends the older you get.
Then you have these anomalies like George Burns, who was smoking cigars, so it was like
right.
150.
I
was it like 102, 103 when he died?
Something like that, yeah. And I always love it because people will pull those random exceptions out. Like, well, this little old lady's 108. She drinks Mountain Dews and smokes Reds. It's like, well, she might be the exception to the rule.
Yeah.
It sounds like nothing can kill grandma.
That's some good genetics, dog.
Right? That's Mick Jagger genetics right there. Don't use her to prop up your ideas.
Yeah.
No, I'll just pound 2 liters of Mountain Dew. Then I'll be 105. Or you'll glow green.
Or diabetes and die.
Or diabetes and die. You'll lose your foot in this experiment. I love that it took you a second on that one.
just it was so random. It's like you lose a foot in this experiment. Not a toe, not a foot.
Well, by the time they catch it, foot's gone.
Foot's gone. And your name would be changed to Eileen.
Somewhere somebody is
I
furious
know,
typing.
I know. It's like, how are you making fun of people?
Diabetes. How dare you make fun of me?
It's like we're not
kind of
making,
easy.
It's a broad thing, you guys. That we have to explain ourselves. Anywho,
Right.
Real topic, right?
Moving on.
Go ahead.
Okay, so
and this was
hard switch.
This was actually born out of a conversation you had texted me about. We started talking on the phone about it. It was a really good, like, dang, that's a good thought. You know what I mean?
So here's backstory for you guys, and Massey and I'll get into it. I'm on my way to be physically brutalized by a workout down in Juneau, and it held true to course. I was physically brutalized.
Oh,
and
like we got off scot-free, me and
well, yeah,
Pedro.
You and Pedro had to, just relax.
All right.
I love it now, though, because you're putting Pedro's face on your social media, so anybody within 15
But nobody,
seconds
I don't ever
that's
say
Pedro.
that's Pedro.
True. I did, though. And
It's true.
now
they know.
Connect the dots, people. One step removed. Anyways, so I'm driving, and I see this big RV van, whatever, with all kinds of Trump all over it, and images of Trump and all of that. And it's kind of this collage.
Paraphernalia.
Yes. It's supporting Trump. And it hit me of, this guy is a hero to a lot of people.
To people, yeah.
That's really the MAGA movement, the Trumpers, whatever you want to call them. He is their hero. And so I texted Massey, because obviously Massey and I talk a lot about, like, are you turning him into a king? Are you idolizing
take her
this guy?
easy.
Whoa, maybe not a gold statue in his image.
With that recent AI Gaza video, it's like, bro, what are you doing?
He was just trolling. Well, yeah, but he kind of
In every
believes his
sarcasm,
own.
in every sarcasm is a bit of truth,
There's
right?
A bit of truth. Anyways,
Yeah.
So I texted Massey, and then we were talking about it of what is the difference between a hero and an idol. And I think this is a really fun topic. You may go, oh, that's dry, but think about what is the difference between your heroes and your idols, and when do you cross that line? When all of a sudden is it you're putting somebody in the place of where God should be based on the attributes of being a hero that you've placed into that person? And Trump is that obvious example of this, where a bunch of people, and I was telling Massey this on the phone, there are a bunch of people who see him as being able to do what they can't do.
Yeah.
He is their hero
Right.
in the epic,
Right.
And like I've said on the podcast before, I can't do anything about the Illuminati. There's nothing I can do. So should I chase around talking about the Illuminati 24/7?
And the Bohemian Grove.
Yes, and maybe I can Alex Jones it and sneak
Skull
in
and
there,
Bones.
and they're turning the frogs gay. The Bohemian Grove. But I can't do anything about it. I can't even do anything about the frogs being turned gay. So there's what do I do in my daily life?
We can do something about the fat epidemic, though. We can all walk.
Yeah, exactly. 10,000 steps. Try it. I'm telling you. So Trump is that guy that all of the Trump supporters see is that guy who can actually do something in their stead, in their favor, defending them against the big, massive monolith of government that they know is out to get them because it hates them. That is a position of a hero.
Yeah, totally.
You know? And so our conversation topic, and I'm going to kick this right to you, Massey,
yeah,
is
totally.
like figuring out, okay, when does hero worship become idol worship, and what are the signs for us to be aware of in ourselves and in others, right?
Yeah, I do think, I love how you started it. You're giving the benefit of the doubt because we try to see the best in every situation. A lot of people truly do feel disenfranchised by the way America's government had been run for a long time.
Right.
But then the flip side is there's a whole other side that felt when Trump was in office the first time, they were like, oh my gosh, he destroyed the economy. Right. Pandemic. They never mention that.
No.
But, and I got to take that back. There's a couple who actually did mention, hey, there was a pandemic that happened. But even now, like, there's people out there seriously considering him to be this hero, this kind of savior complex. Like, finally, we got someone in there who's actually doing something. I think where idolatry and the hero thing get convoluted is somewhere in the middle, right? Like, because to be someone's hero is an admiration. And I want to take the word hero out and I want to say honor, right? We honor a leader.
It's a good start.
Right? So like Paul never said, hero me as I hero Christ. He said, follow me as I follow Christ. Yeah. But Paul did not make his followers compromise their principles in order to follow him.
Oh,
do you understand where I'm going with that?
Yeah, explore that.
So Paul was definitely considered a pioneer of the faith, right? People were like, oh my gosh, Paul's coming into town. You remember when he wrote to Corinthians? It was like, I'm not even with you and I'm already seeing all this, but your faith is heard abroad and all these other things. Like when Paul came into town, it was like, hey, we need to set things in order and you guys are doing amazing. Like there was all these things and people would listen and he'd say, have this read to all the churches in the area or have it read to your brothers and sisters and all those things. But people, I think he says it in Corinthians when he's like, thank God I baptized none of you.
Right.
And some of you say you're baptized of Apollo or Cephas. I only baptized the household, I think, of Gaius and just a couple others. He's like, this isn't about me. This is about Jesus Christ, right? I think we're the dilemma we're facing in America, and I'm trying to parse this out with you. So please, if you got comments, put them down below.
Put them down. Think it out with us.
We're not going the line of, oh my gosh, but it's like, does your heart go more towards this guy can do no wrong? And I think that's the line that you cross that turns from a hero or honor to an idol. You compromise your principles by saying he can do no wrong and whatever it takes, he's got to do it. Now you've sacrificed yourself on the altar of convenience in a sense. He will take care of everything for me. I'm going to compromise everything I need to. I got to give up what I really believe, what should be run right, and just say it's all whatever he wants to do. That is seriously like you lose yourself and become almost a slave in a sense to the master. It's like whatever they need to do, I'm going to follow no matter what. My position is there's some good things he's done. There's some not so good things he's done. There's some things that I got to just be careful and watch my mouth on because it's only been a month. You know, like we got to watch kind of this thing play out. But there's also things he's doing that are there's no precedent for, really. And so there's all these things happening. And because we've not been obeying the Constitution for a very long time, some of the things he does looks unconstitutional because it could be or is. Then there's things that he's not doing. There's things that he's doing that's not unconstitutional because it hadn't been obeyed for so long. So all of us are caught in this conundrum. I still have to preach the truth. Do I think he's doing some good things? Of course. I don't look at him as a hero. I don't look at him as any of that stuff. I never look at man really as a hero. I look at man in honor. So like a Pastor Todd or a Pastor Brian or like yourself, Jake, my homeboy from North Carolina. People that I look up to because they have a walk with God that I'm striving for. Does that make sense? That is an honor thing. Like when Pastor Todd and I were working together, there was so much honor there from me to him, but there was never a yes man moment with me and him. If there was ever an issue, he would let me come in and talk about it, right? There was never like compromise what I think should be done. And I'm telling you, 8 8 out of 10 times, Pastor Todd and I would come to a consensus, like, hey, that's a really good point or whatever. And then there was times where he would say, well, you're not seeing this all the way through like I'm seeing it. Oh, well, that makes sense, right?
And there's a big difference between disagreement and compromising yourself
Right.
for the sake of the direction.
Right.
know?
Right. And honor gets blurred. That word honor gets blurred by you thinking you know more than the person you've submitted to. That's a really weird place to be. I don't know more than people I've submitted to because the reason I submitted to them is because they're higher than me in where they're going. Like I submit to that because I'm just here to help. And the weird part is people will convolute that and turn themselves into a hero complex. Well, because this person won't do it the way I want them to do it, I'm going to go out and do it that way. And you'll hit a tiny substrat of people. You're not seeing what that leader that you just left is doing for the whole. You know what I'm saying? So let's go back to this. Honor and idolatry. Honor is I honor you, but I'm always having an eye of making sure things are done right because I'm supposed to watch your six. That's an honor thing, right? Idolatry is do whatever you want. I'm just going to follow you no matter what. That's where it gets really wanky job.
No, I think that is a really good parsing out on this whole topic because that concept of compromise, when you idolize somebody, you'll give up anything for them.
100%.
Right? And
100%.
And so often you nailed it with there are those times where it's like, well, these are my morals, but I've got to go to the side on my morals so
for the
that
greater
I can
good.
get this done.
Yeah,
exactly.
for the greater good.
The greater good. And that's a really dangerous position to be in. And I think if we took that concept of honor and let's say there are some heroes in the world at some point in time, I don't believe those people would bring us to the point where we have to compromise our morality or compromise our conviction in order to follow them.
True. True.
And I like that idea of there's still a sense of accountability with a hero. With an idol, you're submitted, and all of a sudden it's not you're not measuring them through accountability. It's blind obedience.
Right. That's it.
And I think that's massive because an idol, you've actually given up your own agency with an idol.
Right.
You've said, I'm not enough. The idol is the one that I'm looking to actually give agency back to me, to give authority or decision-making back to me. The idol will tell me what to do or where to go or how to do it. The hero is the inspiration that you honor. You see what I mean?
Yes,
so like
totally.
the hero is the one who goes forward, who overcomes those big struggles, those battles, right? Because I was thinking about Trump had 2 attempts on his life.
Sure.
Trump went through all of these crazy court cases.
Sure.
Trump went through the mud and the swamp and the attacks and all of that.
Yep.
Like the guy really is kind of Teflon, right? He has that like hero's journey. So we look at him and it's like, man, that guy's been through a lot. He's overcome a lot and continued to battle. That's hero material. The problem is I'm with you of I think people end up losing their own accountability or agency because they put him into the idol position.
And every good man that I know that I am like, I would submit to that guy. They have people around them holding them accountable. They're not shooing that away because they know they're being perfected in the faith. They're being perfected in their craft. They're being perfected in their job or whatever that is, right? They never shy away from people who they trust to speak into their lives. You know what I mean? And make sure that they're on the up and up because they realize they are an influence to a lot of people and they need to make sure that they're pure, right? Every good pastor, leader, friend of mine, like my best friend, my best friends, you, Jake, you guys always keep people around you. It's a smaller circle, but it's like people you trust to say, hey, man, am I off on this? Am I right on this? Am I like just this conversation? You were like, Mass, am I off on this? Am I going nuts here? Like this is so it's that true ideal. I think honor is a different ball game. Honor is something that I look up to and I say, man, imitate me as I imitate Christ. I'm going to go after the things of God. When I look at someone, I go, man, I honor that. I think you nailed it. When a guy like Trump, who goes through a couple assassination attempts, the odds are stacked against him 100%. The media is against him, indictments and all that stuff, and all of a sudden comes out on the other side. victorious, you're like, dang. And I'm not comparing him to Washington, but when Washington during the French and Indian War gets 4 bullet holes in his coat, you're like, wow, this guy is,
that's hero material.
Hero material.
Point,
right? But I think Washington in his own right, I'm not saying he was perfect. I think he definitely had he was not the best president at all. I think he had a lot of advisors that were wrong and stuff like that. So there's some things there that we can debate. But people love the guy. Dude, he literally was the unanimous president.
Right.
Like nobody was even on the table. There were like 6 other people on the ballot, and they're like, "Yeah, no, let's give it to Washington." Like, because people just revered the guy. You know, you can't go through all those battles and wars, come out on the other side after losing so many battles, right? He probably lost maybe 40 to 60% of his battles, I'm thinking, you know, but still came out and won the war and helped win the war and with a lot of help, right? It's not just Washington. It was Henry Knox and a lot of these guys too. The French came out and helped.
And to your point on that little aside, a good man recognizes his shortcomings and his weaknesses, and Washington was always open for help for what was the name of the French, was it a French or a Prussian general who trained the men at Valley Forge to whip them into shape? You know, I can't think of what his name is, but that's a sign of humility of like, no, there's a guy who can really help.
Wasn't de Rochambeau, was it? No,
I'd have to look back. No, I don't think so. I can't read it.
I know who
you're
talking
guy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the guy.
Sorry, I was thinking, to derail. But
no, I was thinking D'Anville, but that was in the 1740s. That wasn't current. So we'll get our heads right on this. But the point is, the point is this. I think really the heart issue is I get 2 sides of the spectrum with politics. You get the ones who are like, isn't everything that's going on right now awesome? I'm like, not really. You know, there's a whole lot of discord. You know, like, am I glad he stuck it to Zelensky? In a sense, yes, because the guy would just come in and just get whatever he wanted.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
At the same time, there is this thing of just like diplomacy, just normal common sense decency. I do agree. He came in like a jerk. Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm with you. Of like, when I watched it, I just don't like Zelensky because I think he's just he gets everything he wants, and then if he doesn't get something, he throws a fit. And it was kind of nice to watch Vance and Trump. That wasn't even political dialogue. That was flat out like,
you're not coming in here and doing this.
Yeah, it's like sitting down across from a random person and going, whoa. You're not going to do that in my house.
That's right.
Shut up.
Dude, let's just not forget what Zelensky's done. You know, persecuting people who of the media and all those other things, like throwing them in jail, suspending elections. I mean, we're supporting, like, we're saying Putin is a bad person. I'm not going to deny that he's done some bad things. Yeah. I'm not denying that. But you got a guy that you're defending who's a straight dictator. That's what gets weird about all this stuff.
Shutting down churches and banning churches because they may have some ties to Russia in some way, shape, or form. Whoa,
man. Yeah. Y'all would be mad if we had internment camps like they did in the 40s where we had Japanese put in there. Y'all would be mad today. Well, we're now supporting this at a great length, at a great scale here.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, could he be punishing the entire nation of Ukraine? Maybe. Right? Like, that's what's happening. So again, you got to analyze this in two fronts. That's why I don't comment a lot on people's posts, because they're so polarized. Yep. It's like, even if I throw it a bone this way, you're going to think, well, see, you support Zelensky. No, I don't. I'm just trying to forget it. You can't. That's why I don't like discourses like this. I don't like social media for that reason. It's people are so polarized. Instead of just saying what is truth, what is fact, what is constitutional, what is not. And you can't even have that discussion without saying, see, you support Trump, or see, you don't like Trump. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm holding the dude to a line. That's how I know he's not my idol. That's how I know.
And let's not forget when there was one time you said something to the effect of Trump is not my king, and flat out somebody accused you of being a Democrat plant afterwards.
Yeah, I'll never forget that in front of everybody. She was mad at me. And she goes, I've been alive longer than you ever have. I'm like, what does that have to do with the Constitution? I remember saying that to her. She goes, I know the Constitution. I said, that's cool. We can debate right now. Let's just talk about it. I'm not going to debate you. She just walked out. It was a packed room, right? And I was like, look, I'm not trying to be difficult here. All I'm saying is there's truth and then there's fiction. And the bottom line is some of the things that we're doing here are fiction. Now, I'm not blaming Trump for all of that. No. He's got advisors that he depends on and all these other things. He's coming in doing exactly what he's good at. Clean house. I don't care what it looks like. You work for me, I don't work for you. That's how his mentality is.
Yeah.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous on one front because he works for us.
Yeah.
We don't work for him. We're not submitted to him, right? He works for us because we elected him. But at the same time, all he knows is this. All he knows is steamroll. All this is inefficient. Matter of fact, Kevin O'Leary was on a show, and he came out and said, usually when a guy goes in, and I'm not trying to misquote him, so maybe you guys can help me with this.
Summarize.
He said basically when a businessman comes into a business that's flailing, they hire him to fix it. They go in with the things that they're going to cut, and they usually cut 20% more than what they projected because they got to get rid of the fat. And he kept saying on CNN, I think it was CNN, he was like, he's got to cut more. He's got to cut more. He's got to cut more. And it's like, Kevin, Trump, all these cats, the Starbucks owner, they all know this is what it's going to take to fix the ship is cutting things.
And
go ahead. So then the Christian, we're gonna do a whole show on this. Christians don't belong in politics. Informed Christians do. So the Christian who's not informed on constitutional ethic goes, but we've promised them all this money and we've had all these commitments and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you are not understanding how government is run. You think it's a charity and it's not.
And that's he sent me a couple of clips of somebody who was talking about USAID. Don't call it USAID because they named it specifically that way to hoodwink you. USAID was instituted to influence foreign nations for American empire building. That's really, it's to strengthen American alliances. Do they do some good things? Yes. Now, and this podcast was basically like, all these Christians suddenly are against foreign aid, and this is foreign aid, and it's taking care of a bunch of people.
Are you going to give more to your churches?
Right. And the problem with all of that is, again, just like you said, binary. It becomes a binary. We have to defend
it's either or
USAID because we've done it that way, and it's foreign aid. What they did was pause everything and started combing through and going, where's this money? I was listening to Musk with Joe Rogan this morning, and he said that there's tens of thousands of NGOs that get billions of dollars from the government that are they're flat out money laundering. That's what those NGOs are doing. They are flat out money laundering.
And if you didn't
for
know
the typical
that,
Democrats.
If you didn't know that already, you're not paying attention. And I blame a lot of our Congress, actually a majority, because nobody's ever coming out and exposing this. Unless they truly don't know where this money was going, why would you approve something you don't know where the money's going?
Exactly. And that's for the Treasury, right? The Treasury, literally, it was voluntary whether or not they categorized where the money was going or what the expense was for. So billions upon billions upon billions of dollars are getting sent out with no marker of where this is going or why this is being spent. Now, and Musk even raised the question of what's the difference between like just sloppiness and fraud. What's the difference here? And so you get people who draw these lines, and especially in the Christian realm, of it's either they're all evil, horrible, and stop all of it, or they're super good, and anybody who wants to shut it down is super evil for ever questioning it. Yeah.
There's a lot of different reports too, because we're gonna get back to the idol versus thing. There's a lot of like different reports that come out, like when's the first time U.S. ever gave foreign aid? There are some people who say it's only 1% of our GDP, but they're not factoring in the money we gave to Ukraine. They're only factoring humanitarian aid, but they're not factoring what we give to other nations to help them through war. So they should, because we're just giving money like crazy. But one of the points I made, especially on that podcast, and I have not gotten a response yet, I'm actually waiting for it. It's been 3 days, was one of the responses I put on there, or basically a questioning of them, was you keep referencing that it's our money going there. It's actually not. It's printed money going over there. We don't even have the money to subsidize other countries. That's why we're printing so much. We do not have the money to sustain our own government programs, let alone trying to sustain another nation. So we keep printing money and borrowing money that we don't have, our kids don't have, my grandkids don't have yet. We're printing this money. So really what we're doing is stealing. And they have not responded to this.
And
you see what I'm saying?
It gets worse than that, because when you flush the system with trillions of dollars of U.S. dollars, we're propping up our strength in being the world reserve currency. Because if everybody around the world is still using those U.S. dollars fresh and crisp, well, we have reason to continue to be the world reserve currency.
Right.
Right? But it's even more pernicious because there is a cost to print each of those
100%.
dollars, which puts us deeper in debt.
100%. And
so
deflates our dollar and all that stuff.
This real nasty downward spiral economically, but we don't talk about that.
So going back to the idol or honor situation, I'm glad that podcast is questioning what Trump is doing. That's good. You should question. I think your questions are wrong, but I think it's awesome that you're saying, hey, I don't think this is right.
Right.
Good for you. Do your homework, right? Again, they may be completely off, which I agree. I think they are completely off. They don't understand. I like their stance on we shouldn't be, we should be questioning those things, but they're all about and the guy actually said this, the last 80 years we've been giving money to nations. Why are we going to stop now? It's been accepted by Congress for the last 80 years. We've been a nation for 240. So somewhere in there, it was wrong at one point. We didn't do that.
Beside the fact that they have not shut down all foreign aid, they wrapped the department up into the State Department so the State Department could have a lot more oversight on what is going on.
100%.
So it's not that the Trump administration has come in and said, we're never going to give another dollar to anybody ever again. They're trying to figure out what dollars are valid and what dollars are just going to nations that are
100%.
going right into dictators'
100%.
pockets.
Yeah, and again, so going back to this, I don't, no, seriously, because this is good stuff. I think it's something that needs to be talked about, especially the debt that we're incurring, this recent budget that just passed. Everybody always says that you need to go in debt to get out of debt. It's like, we're already so far in debt. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? So again,
when does that ship turn around?
Right. It's only been 40 days, I think, that he's been in office. And if they keep cutting and stuff like that, because they're projecting a $10 trillion deficit over the next 10 years with the budget they passed. But again, you have to realize they're still trying to slash things, cut things. So there's I don't want to presume yet. You know what I mean? We don't know what's going to happen. I know it's going to get worse before it gets better. There's no question about that. Already they're talking about a housing market crash and a lot of things like that, which some economists are saying that's a good thing. That's what helps reset the nation. It resets an economy. I don't know. I'm not an economist. I don't ever want to go down that road. Maybe you can.
Let me put it this way. Sometimes you need pain to heal. You need pain to restore.
He thinks about that every day when we're working out with him.
Yeah, exactly. It hurts.
It sucks, actually. It doesn't just hurt.
But
yeah.
And I think the hard part is how far will people go with the pain? And I could see a massive correction. I'm not saying there's going to be, but I could see a massive correction. And is that what we need to get values back to where they're supposed to be, get things back to where it's supposed to be? Because people have been playing with free money for a long time. And at some point, the game has to end. Now, people will say, no, it doesn't have to end. Just keep going. At some point, it comes back on your head. You can't outrun it.
Right.
And it may take 100 years, but you can't outrun it.
Right.
And these policies that they're putting, it's just like if you've been run away on your budget in your house, and then all of a sudden we're gonna clean things up. We're gonna do well. It hurts when you can't order pizza anymore.
Okay, so go with that, right? For the last 15 years, I'm just throwing it as a hypothetical, our family's gone on these really $10,000 a year vacations. We go out and we spend money at least twice a week on food. We go out, make sure after church on Sundays, we go out to eat. So all of a sudden, it's like, okay, we're pretty in debt. So we need to fix this, right? So we go to our budget and say, we're going to cut that, we're going to cut that, we're going to cut that. You know what your kids are going to do? What? You can't do that. I expected to have pizza. I expected to go out after church. And you're thinking, it doesn't matter. In order to correct the ship, I got to quit spending money.
Yeah.
I got to start paying off some debts. So yeah, it's going to suck. And if your family truly understands you, they'll be behind you and say, you know what, Dad, we get it. You know what, hon, we get it. You know what? We got to do that. So let's buckle down for the next 2 years, pay off our debts, and then we're going to be responsible with how we spend money in the future. That's what's going to happen. If he doesn't do that, if the husband and wife don't do that, you lose your house in foreclosure, you lose your cars, everything. And then you go, oh, I thought I could manage this. No, because we can't print money out of thin air. And it's the same with government. They've been given this carte blanche authority to just print money. And it's dangerous. Every economist, they're lying to you at this point, saying that it's going to be okay if we print more money and have more debt. They're lying to you. They're just lying to you.
It's literally kicking the can down the road.
And that's the thing you have to question when Trump and those guys, President Trump and Elon, and, if they're for raising the debt ceiling and stuff, it's like, what are you doing? That's the kind of stuff I can't compromise on. That's the kind of stuff that's constitutional, unconstitutional. That's where I got to keep going to the originalist view. I love being a purist. I love doing all that stuff. And there's not a thing that I look at in history and going, wow, that's the way to do it. Because there's flaws. Mm-hmm. I don't think they foresaw what's going on. And again, kind of to round this up, because I want you to finish the point because you brought it up. Be careful you're willing to compromise what you know in pursuit of the temporal thing that you think we need. Because every time a man compromises, it turns into a golden calf like Aaron, and it was all temporal. It was not eternal. They did not see what God was doing in restricting them, in holding them down, and making sure, hey, wait 40 days, let's get a command from God, then we move forward. The moment Aaron compromised, he builds a golden calf, and it was temporal, and it ended up being destroyed anyways. I don't put my trust in man. Trump's going to screw it up one way or another, right? But everyone will. We all screw things up. That's what I'm saying. He's not going to get it always right. He may get some things right. That's cool. But not everything's going to be right. Biden didn't get a dang thing right. Let's shoot straight, right? Like it just would. And can you imagine if Kamala was elected? So like, I'm not even saying, I just don't even know like what would have happened. And again, my hope is not in these guys. I don't ever think like that, but just the sheer weight of that would have been insane. Anyway.
And you can celebrate. We're not saying that all of us are treating Trump like an idol. And what we are saying is be very careful of that difference between hero and idol.
Right.
And we can still hold heroes to the standards. It's the idols that become the determining factor of what our morals will be. We look to the idols and let the idols dictate back to us. I think that's... And
I want to go to Scripture. Romans 13, 1 Peter 2, they all talk about honoring authority, honoring the leader, honoring those. Honor does not mean the same thing as willful, just obedience, no matter what. That's not what that means. I honor God in that situation. They're ministers of God to thee for good. Read Romans 13. Mm-hmm. That literally means that. So if they're of God, I have a duty to uphold God's word and God's law to them, or their oath to the Constitution. That's where it gets a little wanky jaw. You know what I mean? I'm very much just tell the truth and stand on it, and people won't like it. And there's people on the other side, dude. More and more people are coming out against what Trump is doing constitutionally. There's a lot more people coming out like that. Yeah. And it's like, dude, eventually this had to happen. You can't you can't run roughshod and not expect blowback. You just can't. So anyway,
there we go. So guys, go to theselfevidenttruth.com, get yourself some shirts, some merch, and join us. Yep, there's the shirt.
Oh, we got a new one coming out, dude.
When's that come out?
I want to say 2 weeks.
Cool.
Well, maybe 3, because they have to set up the printer. It's a whole new design. I'm actually working on a couple more. But the book's out.
Yes, right.
Hey, listen, they're actually in that box over there. I had one over here. The Church Liberated book. Thank you to all of you who have shared and bought this book. It was a labor of love on many fronts. More on Mike. I paid him, okay? I didn't use his services for free because this guy worked his butt off to get this thing right for me. And I'm going to change my words. I am now a writer. I'm going to write more things, I think. It's fun. But people have been ordering this, and I really appreciate it. We sold a lot in Nevada. We had some really good Amazon orders. It's pretty fun. And we just want to say thank you to all of you who've ordered this. We so appreciate you. We've sold many copies so far, just in the couple months it's been released. And we're putting it on Kindle as well, so you guys can have that. But just go ahead and go to theselfevidenttruth.com. You can pick one up. If you want, you can order one on Amazon as well. I don't care where you order it from. It's just the information that's in here. We're soon going to create a workbook for it to make it a study, which is going to be fun. Mike's going to be working on that with me as well. But it's kind of neat. I've never thought I would do this, and I needed these guys to do it with me. My wife wrote a chapter in here. Mike wrote a couple chapters in here. That's why it says, and Self-Evident Ministries. I'm not the complete... Listen, it's all history. We don't know. You know what I mean? And we actually had to edit. This is just... Can we just be frank with them?
Yeah.
We put in some chapters we had to take out because of some recent information that came out about Martin Luther King and stuff. And I'm like, I'm not going to glorify a communist in that sense. So I had to take some things out. And that's just me growing in knowledge, right? And so there's definite things. And we had to we had to put some new guys in there because Mike wrote a whole chapter about men who changed the nation or changed society. And we ended up changing him with Charles Finney.
Charles Finney, yeah.
And so this is such a good book for it's a quick read. Each chapter's not long at all. And it's just about, 15 chapters of just
something like that. Yeah.
Nuggets. And, we thank you so much for ordering, and give a review on Amazon if you can. We want those reviews to go up as well, which we thank you for.
Reviews really help in the rankings. So by all means, if you've purchased it on Amazon, please leave a review.
It's 19 chapters.
Yeah, take a couple of days with it instead of one day.
And it'll actually be 20 chapters because this one doesn't have the Finney.
That doesn't. Well, it'll still be 19 because we replaced.
No,
Luther.
we took that out.
Oh, you took it out.
Yeah.
And just didn't have it.
Didn't have anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
So it'll be 20 chapters, the one you order, which is exciting. That's kind of fun. Anyways, thank you so much for ordering that. And also our merch. Thanks so much for supporting us that way, you guys. If you guys want to be a sponsor, we got tour sponsor. We're going to start releasing this information like, hey, can you sponsor a tour? Thank you so much for doing some of that, you guys. We were just in Nevada. That was sponsored. We just appreciate that. That gets us out there. We don't have to think about the money, where it's coming from. We can do events that don't have a lot of money, and we love those events because they need a touch of the Holy Spirit too. They need a move of God in their area, their church, whatever. So thank you again for everything. We are just busting our butts to do this, and that's the only way we know how. So thanks again for your prayers as well. Just thank you. Thank you for everything. We love you guys.
All right. Love you guys. Have a great day.